We're going to open the March 25th Selectmen's meeting. Open session public meetings are subject to being videotaped. Your image and voice may be recorded. Let's start off with minutes. We have Wednesday, March 20th. And that's it, right?
That may be, yes.
Okay. This was the meeting with the Finance Committee.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a work-off employee request. Brenna Ewing would like to do the display space in town office building.
Mm-hmm.
She contacted you?
Yes, well, Lisa put it out there a couple weeks ago that we need to fix, update the boxes out there. And I ran into Brennan and say, hey, you're kind of artsy craftsy. What do you think? And she went, I'm in. So,
Okay. And so she's going to put in an application for
yes.
work-off.
Yeah, I will ask her to.
Okay.
I would like to also put it out if anybody wants to help her.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of stuff to do.
And she'll reach out to,
You are the best, honey. Thank you. You want to take Piper's?
smile for the camera. There you go. Give it away.
Well, you can see what the problem is.
You need to decoupage. Yeah, so between Marty's pictures and whatever she gets from Barry and whatever she gets from Marty, that she'll be able to figure something out.
You can fill out the selectman's request, though, to be partnered with her now. So I put that in there. It's flagged.
Oh,
That's you. You gotta sign it.
That's for work off.
okay. Alright. And then, do you want me to give this to Peg to give to Brenna, or just let her know it's here?
I can email it to her. I think I have an
Okay.
email.
You want to just do that?
Yeah, I'll text her and let her know it's on its way to check her email.
Okay. Alright. That's about
You're okay if I
7.
write up a blurb and throw it out on?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Why don't we do our 7:10 appointment with our interim fire chief? Are you well rested now after the weekend?
Oh, yeah. Hi,
Hi, Chief.
how are you? So, I'm just gonna run through this sheet if that's okay. So I didn't get a definitive count on our incidents for the past month or so. But I included a couple of big ones. We had a multi-vehicle collision with a double patient transport. We used both ambulances about a week or so ago. Regular amount, I'd say a regular amount of medical calls, 1 to 2 daily for the past month. We did a chimney fire up Linden Street here that was almost extended into the house. I think that was the night I was hired. And
Don't mess around.
no,
Go right to
everything
work.
the first day.
There you go.
So the fire marshal, I just had him do a quick synopsis. He's been quite busy. 12 official permits for the month, but he's counted 70 inspections, checking code violations, snow removal, the school, standpipes, basically just making sure that everything's accessible for the fire department to do operations. 4 new addresses he created on the system. 3 new house plan reviews. He has a good bunch of blueprints in his office that he's been getting delivered, so there's a lot going on with new builds, it looks like. Commercial plan reviews. Fit Factory, the man who's doing the building showed up today to say hi. They're gonna start working on building that up at Highland Commons. That's a big square footage footprint.
Oh, that's the
That's next to Cabela's.
the
Gym.
exercise gym
Yeah.
or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. AT&T up at Highland Commons, small footprint. Highland Liquors, 15,000. The apartments down at Bassett Road, which is behind the restaurant, coffee, winery. That, he's doing a lot of reviews on that and permits. And then the solar farm up on Randall Road, he's working with the owner on that. Homewood Suites, we've been down there about 3 times. I've been down there on a couple of interactions the past week and a half, 2 weeks. They're on a temporary occupancy. I think there was one unit that needed the sprinkler head needed to be pulled out of the wall. It was too recessed to work properly, so that room's off limits. The elevator company has some minor issues to fix. And the marshal was in contact with them today. So I think that looks like it's gonna be resolved down there. There was an issue with something with the computer programming on the, but the mechanically it's fine. He's done a bunch of 26Fs, which are residential inspections, probably people just turning over houses, getting ready to sell them. 6 of them. He's scheduled a public education at the Growing Room for the 23rd, for this coming up 23rd, whether we passed 23rd. So
Is
he
that
already
for
just
the-
did that
Is
this
that for the
weekend.
staff or?
Yeah. And they did an IMC training last week. And the day crew's been on a number of, probably like 3 or 4 inspections with them. And I bring them down to the hotel too, last week. That's the marshal, so he's been quite busy. Operations-wise, everything's stable. There's been no changes. We're still running 4 call groups at nights, so we still have the 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Nothing's changed in the day. Nights are the same. I'm running my group, so none of that's changed. 4 officers rotating every 4 nights, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then I run calls during the day if they're more than just a simple medical transport. So we reinstated 1 past member, an EMT, about a week and a half ago, and we're looking to rehire 2 past members. But we have gear issues, so I'm waiting on gear for them. The budget, I don't think I already talked to you about the budget.
Well, we were at the
What was left of
FinCom
it?
meeting, I think, when
Yeah.
you'd come to
Yeah.
talk to them.
Where did
Yeah.
you guys end up with the equipment? Because I know that they were looking to delay that. Is that going
On
to
the
be possible?
SCBA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking to Buzz about that, about maybe we're not gonna get the total replacement allotment that we put aside. That's just not gonna happen, so we're looking to just buy part of it this year and maybe put it on
Okay.
for next year, for the
Okay.
rest of it, and not go to a whole different company or type. We'll just stick with the Scott and then work with that. As far as the recruits, we're low on bottles, so we're looking at some options, possibly to buy some, just to make do. That's that, so.
Is that something that could be staggered over time, so you're not getting hit all at once, or it really has to be
It
purchased
depends
all
on
at
the age of the bottles. They age out and they can only be recertified, I think, one time, so it depends on their age. And a lot of them are coming up for expiration. Same with the gear.
Mhm.
The gear's 10 years life. So we have a bunch of old gear. It's only good for outside operations or doing like a cleanup of a oil spill type of cleanup. You keep it for that, or keep it for the new hires, so they have something to wear while they're outside.
Yeah.
That's why we hang on to them. But it's the NFPA standard, we can't send them to the academy. They have to, and that's exhausted downstairs. I've gone through inventory, and there's nothing down there that's in date.
Yeah.
So that I have 4 members that are looking to go to the academy in June, and 3 of them we have outfitted. We juggle gear, scrounge gear, like my old gear. It has a year left and it's expectancy.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's in that, and there's one which is just one so far that we don't have. So it's right, that's how it's going, so.
Well, I think you need gear for.
Yeah, the gear is expensive. The ensemble's about $3,000 complete
Uh-huh.
for each person. It's tough. We always try to use older gear to have them run through the academy, see if they were gonna make it through.
Mhm.
Because it does beat on the gear to go
Yeah.
through the academy. They do a bunch of live burns and, drag and hose and, but it's just where we are with the gear. So, that's the main concern. The tanker truck, I'm waiting on the Vermont repair company. They're waiting for the part. And hopefully should be this week. They get down and repair that and get that back in service.
And the truck is in Vermont right now, or
No,
not yet?
no.
Not yet.
Trucks.
The truck is it's an all-fuel truck, like an all for the Air Force.
Okay.
And it has just enough engine to go up and down a runway.
Okay.
It wasn't made for hills. So going to Vermont's like the last thing it needs. Yeah.
So they're coming here?
So they're coming here.
Okay.
Yeah, they're from Vermont, they're coming here.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's all downhill.
It's all, yeah.
It's all downhill here.
Yeah.
And so you said the budget's been mostly exhausted, so then that means, how do you handle overtime? Is it totally out, gone?
So overtime, we're just using it if we have to, and, hopefully everything stays quiet. Yeah. So our full-time members are trying to be respectful of our money and work within the parameters of what we have left.
Good.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you that if you do need something, we don't want people going somewhere without gear. I think
Yeah,
this board would agree
Yeah.
that you need to speak to the finance committee now that you know how to do a reserve fund transfer.
Right.
Go to June.
So I anticipate that will happen. It's just,
Yes.
it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be okay with. I mean, it's public safety, it's keeping you guys safe, so.
Yeah.
Right.
The SCBA we're short on SCBA, we're short on bottles right now. So that's hard, that's expensive too, so. I'm working with Buzz though, hopefully we can come up with a plan.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he feels pretty strongly, I know, about making sure you guys are safe and
Yeah,
have what
it's
you
like
need to
a-
keep the town safe.
Yeah, it's, you can't do the job without it, so,
No.
yeah. So other than that, I have a bunch of committees, people we have a truck apparatus committee that's out researching new tanker.
Nice.
And that's four an officer and 3 firefighters. And they wanted me to tell you that they have a collective history of 139 years in the fire service. That's a big deal to them, so I appreciate that. And they're out in towns and looking at what other ones are working and brands and everything. So I have firefighters that are looking at gear and looking at SCBA
Nice.
and doing inventory, and so everyone's working, and it seems to be going pretty good. Well,
Good.
yeah.
You're doing a great job, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hearing you're doing a
It's-
great job.
Well,
A lot of people.
the department is, yeah.
That's your leadership.
Well, the department, it's a team. It's a
Yes,
team.
yes, it is
I
team,
got-
but, yes, you have good people.
Orchestras are, they need a conductor, but it's, the music comes from the people and the
Okay.
instruments.
Aww. Hey, and thanks for letting me use the truck, too, by
Oh.
the way.
All right. I don't know the truck.
You're gonna, either you're driving it or I'm driving
right.
it, so, you know.
We'll work that out.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Scary.
And I know,
So-
one more quick question, the
Sure.
backup ambulance had to have a lot of service on it, how's that holding up now that it's had
It's
the
good, it's
service?
better if it's run.
Okay.
All those diesels need to be driven and run, and I know some people wonder why but it's better. Any truck people, I know there's some truck people here, they'll probably back me up, a diesel, they're just made, when they sit around,
Don't do so well.
Well, they get water in the systems, and it ends up costing us a lot of money. So, it's doing well though, so far, yeah. I think that's it. Oh, the guys went out to coffee time this week with Tom, over at 19 Carter Street.
Oh,
So, that was one group so I'll bring the other ones and make sure they get out
nice.
and maybe down to 135 to meet the folks down there, and when they're not helping them. get to know who they are, yeah. So,
That's great.
yeah, so,
Nice
Good.
community reach out, thank you.
yeah.
All right.
Any questions, or? No? Okay.
Go home, take a nap.
I'm on call tonight.
Say, do you have training tonight too, or?
Thank you,
you.
chief.
All right. We have a 7:20 appointment with Officer Goulding and regarding IAC.
Good evening, would you like us to come up here?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Let me, first of all, introduce Kevin Pecos from
Hi, Kevin and Peg.
Peg, Christine Key,
Nice to meet
Lisa
you.
Wysocki,
Hi.
Good to meet you.
Mary.
Mary?
On the end there?
Nice to meet the face behind the phone.
Kevin, well, let's start at the beginning. We were here months ago when there was concerns, and it was predicated by requests from the board to reach out to the designated treasurer, health coordinator, to try to reduce costs. And as the chairman of the IAC, we tried to keep up what was going on and did a lot of research, as we heard at one of the meetings, that we're reaching the $1 million mark, and it's very expensive. And as I brought up in several meetings and conversations, I never felt we were really looking out for the best interest of the residents and the employees at trying to get the best price for us. And it's no fault of ours. I can't expect anybody in this building that I know of, except for this man with over 40 years of insurance experience, to understand that ever-changing insurance. It's constant, and we just don't have the resources for that. So I did some research at bordering communities that were our size and larger, and the reason I reached out to this company was because every community I talked to, Northborough, West Boylston, everything, were ecstatic at the results that they've gotten, from the employee part to the municipal government, in savings and communication and just up to date. So with that, I'm self-initiating this through our group based on the fact, as the IAC chairman representing the employees that are subscribers, as a liaison to the police union, as an employee, and just an adopted child by the town that cares about what we offer our employees for now and the future. And we really have to look at it closely, and these people have the expertise. And they offered us zero cost a year ago. So I asked him to come in out of his time, put together a presentation, and meet the board. So
Okay.
thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Well, nice to meet you
Thank
all. I am actually flattered that Dave said I'm a 40-year insurance industry executive. I'm actually a 40-year town manager who retired about 4 years ago, and I'm doing this in my retirement. But I also did this full-time back in 2001, 2003 for 2 years. Took a break from my career and got licensed and did this full-time. So I've actually got about 15, 16 years experience and much more as a town manager, but it gives me a very unique perspective on how I can take municipal government experience and blend it with what's become quite a bit of experience in the municipal health insurance area and provide, I think, a unique service. We actually have been working for you for some time now. We were given an engagement letter by your treasurer back in November, and what I'm going to do tonight is give you a little, give you the result of the work we've done so far, tell you who we are, because I know you don't know who we are, tell you what we've done for you so far, give you the conclusions we've reached, and give you some recommendations that you might wish to consider, all in the way of, we hope, helping you to improve your health plan and stabilize costs. Your health plan is probably, unless you're different in some way, and I doubt that, is your largest cost center in your budget. And health insurance has become hopelessly complex. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the laws that affect you, and without somebody helping you, whether it's us, if there's nothing else I convey tonight to you, if you don't engage us, engage someone, because it is an absolute minefield of federal, state law these days in terms of compliance and requirements that you're required to comply with. And I know you're in the process of establishing your first town administrator position. And having been one for 40 years and knowing probably lots of the people that are going to apply, let me assure you, I used to think I was an expert in municipal health insurance when I was a town administrator, town manager, until I actually got my license and started doing it full time. And as I love to tell my colleagues now, you wouldn't believe what you don't know. And so we have many, many municipal colleagues as clients who are very, very happy that we're there helping them. And that goes from some of the biggest cities and towns in the state to some of the very smallest. So everybody needs help with this stuff, believe me. So who is NFP? We are a company, a national and international company. We've got over 50,000 corporate clients, and they don't distinguish between municipal and corporate. They just say corporate, but big, big company. Same size, order of magnitude as Mercer, Marsh & Mac, bigger companies you've heard of. We're a very low-profile company. Over 150 offices across the U.S., almost 5,000 employees, and 6 international offices as well. In Massachusetts, we've got over 400 clients in this state, over 80 municipal clients, and there's that list is growing quickly because we are adding 4 or 5 or 6 per year. There are 5 or 6 in the next 2 weeks that'll be voting whether to retain us or not. We don't advertise, we don't market. All of our business development comes from referrals from other folks or people who call us to come look at something. We don't really solicit. We're not an aggressive marketing company. Clients in this immediate area, West Boylston, Townsend, Sterling, Millbury, Spencer, Southborough, Northborough. That's obviously a very small part of all the municipal clients, but it's the ones that are right in this area. We do health insurance, life insurance, dental insurance, vision, LTD, STD, long-term care insurance. So basically all the kinds of insurance that you do in municipalities for your employees, we take care of that. The folks out of the Northborough office, which is where I work from, Ken Lombardi, he has over 40 years experience as an actual insurance executive. Ken is also an LIA. An LIA, a licensed insurance advisor. There's 2 designations in the health insurance, health and welfare insurance. One is an LIA, one is a broker. An LIA is to a broker, think what a CPA is to an accountant or a PE is to an engineer. An LIA is a much higher designation, reflects many, many more years of experience than a broker would possess, and they are unusual. Ken is one. Ed Burns, who also works from the office, is also an LIA. Ken is also an underwriter, and there are very few companies that actually have underwriters on staff. Usually it's a service that's outsourced. Me, I'm a broker, 40 years as a town manager, 15 years in the insurance field. And Alan Himmelberger is a broker and superintendent of schools. We're proud of the fact that we're the only company in Massachusetts that employs a town manager, and we're also the only company that employs a superintendent, and we're the only company that employs both. So it really gives us a unique perspective on municipal needs. So how do we help you? Well, we are all about trying to tailor. We've got a specific approach that we use to help cities and towns, and we've begun doing that here for you, but we haven't really done it in an advanced or more formal way, and certainly not in a detailed way yet, because the request that was made of us by your treasurer was very specific, and so we started doing that. But to get a little more specific about what we do than the sort of, stuff that comes out of corporate, the little pretty charts and all that. We have a meeting with management. Now, each community defines who that is. In your case, presumably that would be this board, your new town administrator, your IAC. Those are the key players. And your benefits manager, be that your treasurer or whoever it is that the board designates. We ask you if you have any goals, any specific places you want your group health plan to get to. We ask if there's any red lights, things that you absolutely don't want to consider. We look at your CBAs, collective bargaining agreements, PEC agreements, if you have an agreement with your insurance advisory committee. And then we do a review. We go away, we look at your plan design, we look at your demographics, we look at your claims, we look at a whole bunch of analytics, which are things like where do your employees go, where do they get procedures done at the hospital, what procedures do they have, and all this, by the way, is not by person. It's collectivized information. It's all HIPAA protected. What are your top 10 pathological conditions? Diabetes, heart disease, probably, up there in top 2 or 3. What are your top 10 pharmaceuticals? And we ask a lot of questions like, what is your level of compliance with state and federal statute? Affordable Care Act, COBRA, ERISA, TEFRA. ERISA is not a well-known law, but it's the one that probably governs more about your health insurance plan than any other law. That is the Employees Retired Income Stability Act of 1978, if I remember all these acronyms right. TEFRA is the Tax Equity and Financial Recovery Act of 1986. That one has a huge effect on you as well. And of course, Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, the law that governs employee group benefits in Massachusetts, and the Mass Municipal Health Reform Act. So we look at all that. We come back and we see you and we tell you all the initial opportunities that we see that are there to improve your plans, save money, and there are lots of them. Then we present you with these options, and we ask you to work with us to adopt a multi-year plan. As the old saying goes, if you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there. It is critical in group benefits planning, and particularly in health insurance, that you have some idea of where you're trying to get to, because change has to happen incrementally. You can't make wholesale gigantic changes, because your employees will rebel against that, create great turmoil for you, and I know no board wants to do that. No town administrator wants to do it, no treasurer wants to do it, no IAC chair wants to do it. So change has to be incremental so that it can be managed well by the employees. So that's why it's critical to have a multi-year plan, and that's really at the core of what we try to work with you to do. And then we educate the employees about that as well. And when I say we educate the employees, we meet with every single employee. Every single employee. Now, we like to do that in group settings because you've got 30 or 40 people on your plan, and 30 or 40 separate meetings is burdensome to us. But if necessary, we would do it and have done it. But more typically, we meet in groups because people like to ask questions and feed off of each other. We talk to them about what this plan is. We talk to them about the incremental stages. And we get to a point very frequently, in fact, almost invariably, where the employees want to make those changes. That's critical. And we implement it in stages and annually review and edit it because healthcare is changing constantly. So you can't have a plan for 3 years from now and not continually being updating it because there's all sorts of things changing, and that means new opportunities. Some things that are very important to you that you should be seriously considering. One is doing formal requests for proposals. Folks assume that health insurance is not a commodity which can be competitively purchased. It is. It is like every other commodity. Every insurance product can be competitively purchased. And believe me, there is plenty of competition out there. You have not had any competition here in quite a while. And that spells a big opportunity for you. We review all the financing options. There's a lot of different ways to provide a financial structure for your health insurance. Purchasing it on the private market, fully insured quotes, self-insured quotes, group purchases, MIA, GIC. There's lots of options to take advantage of. And we look at a lot of very, very innovative things to show you. We've got a full compliance division with a database of best practices for 40,000 clients. It gives us an awful lot of good ideas to bring you. Most important component to me, because this is the one that's near and dear to my heart as a town manager for 40 years, is employee education. I personally do a lot of that work, although the other executives do a lot of it too. And we come and we teach your employees how to use their health insurance, why certain changes to it are critical, why you cannot remain stagnant with your health insurance. The benefit structure has got to change year to year. If you become a dinosaur, you will most assuredly suffer on the premium side of the equation. It is imperative to be continually innovating, what we call contemporizing the plan. But again, getting folks to where they willingly do that requires a lot of education so they understand how their health insurance works, how it's financed, how to work with it, how to get the best value, and why it makes sense to do things like copay increases and have deductibles. People will resist that until they understand why, and then they're very accepting. that part of it I've been actually doing for the 40 years part, because I've been very proactive in that area. So what have we done for you so far? Well, I've personally had 3 meetings out here over the course of 2017, 2018, invited out here by chiefs and the chair of the IC, David, and come out and sat down and had conversations with you. We were engaged by letter on November 29th, I think it was. I sent a copy to you. I've got a copy with me by your treasurer, Dennis, and asked to ask Maya to give us, your current insurer, to give us all the data that they could give us on your claims, your benefit structure, plan design, demographics, and see what we could come up with. The goal was to issue an RFP on your behalf. We did not get a robust response back, so I don't think a competitive RFP. When we say RFP, we're talking a very complex written document. That did not get issued. We did do a little marketplace testing for you, but we were unclear if you wanted to proceed with that or not, and so I don't think that happened in a real cognitive way. You did get a 0 on your health insurance premium increase this year, and I'll talk a little bit in a minute about why you may be happy with that. I mean, no increase is always good news, but that's a poor result, frankly, in the marketplace this year. That's very poor, and you deserve better. And we had a number of conversations with police chief. Mary have chatted with a couple times, and of course David is chair of the IAC. We've also had conversations with Berlin Boylston Superintendent of Schools over at the regional school and the chief financial officer about potentially partnering you folks up, and they are very interested. So our conclusion so far: your Maya renewal at 0 is not as good as your claims for the last 3 years would suggest. We have 3 years of claim history. We think you should have been somewhere in the range of a -3 or 4, somewhere around in there. That's what your claims would justify. I served on the Maya Board of Directors for a decade. I was chairman of the board for 3 years. I know intimately how Maya functions. Maya, as a very, very large trust with 100+ members, which is now Boston-centric, because if you put I'm really going to do old speak here. I'm sorry, but I am old after all. But if you put push pins on a chart, I know there's a way to do it on a computer. I don't know how. But if you put push pins on a chart, with all the Maya Medical Trust members, you'll see that they're really inside of 128 predominantly, definitely inside of 495. Very few outside of 495 now. So what does that tell us? That's critical information. Everybody knows that an appendectomy at Mass General costs a lot more than an appendectomy in Worcester, and it costs a lot more in Worcester than an appendectomy out in the Berkshires. Everybody knows that. In the business, we refer to it as geographic bias. So if you, being this far outside of Boston, are in a trust with members who are predominantly Boston aligned, it is likely, if your claims profile was the same per capita, we call it per member per month, PMPM, claims, you would pay more because your cost to that trust is less to begin with. And we see that all the time. And we're constantly being asked now by Maya members outside of, well outside of the Boston area. Where you are here, Templeton, you, Townsend a couple of years ago, and the list goes on and on, to take a look. And what we're finding repetitively is that and Maya, by the way, is a wonderful organization. I believed in it. I helped form it. I was there 35 years ago when it was formed. I think it's a great organization. But the reality is, and I said this all the time when I was on the board, Maya is not going to work for everybody all the time. It needs to exist. But if a community can do better, then the community should do better. Your fiduciary responsibility is not to Maya. It is to your taxpayers and your citizens. Maya will say, but if there are not members that pay more than they should, then who is going to offset the members in Maya who pay less than they should? My retort as a town manager was always, that's fine, I get it, I'm not going to be the one paying more than I should.
400
That's
will be heading
because
that
my
way in my
fiduciary
place.
oath was to my
Give
town
somebody
as well.
choking to start
So,
EMS.
there is a bit of a dilemma there, but my argument is always, if you're looking for what's best for your community, then you've got to look at it this passionately from a business point of view. So, we think that you can do better. We know you can do better, absolutely. We think you should issue an RFP, a request for proposals, and even though you already have your Maya renewal in, it's still not too late. It is late, admittedly, and this is an unusual time, but the carriers are still very much engaged in the bidding business in municipalities, because lots of municipalities are still bidding their insurance, so it's not too late for you. And I'm not guaranteeing a better result, because for reasons I'll discuss in a minute, you are in a competitive, disadvantaged position right now, and I'll tell you why that is. So getting competition for you is not impossible, but it's difficult. The transfer of your teachers to the regional school district probably was a great move from a financial point of view, an educational point of view, and I have done that myself in communities. But it has taken the size of your group from over 100 to well under 100. Now, Maya's policy, and it is a policy only, is that if you're under 100 members, they will not give us complete claims information. We can't get the really, really detailed stuff we want, and we can't get the large claims. Those are the ones that really matter. Maya has what's called a $125,000 attachment point. So Maya absorbs the first $125,000 of any claims. You, through your rate, absorb a big chunk of that. And then Maya takes, and they've got probably 3 layers of insurance on top of that to pick up those claims as they escalate. Why is that important? Because without those large claims and without that detailed claims information, if we take Berlin to the marketplace and present you for a competitive quote, a lot of the carriers are going to say, not enough information, we can't really quote it. Maya knows that, and Maya, golden handcuffs. You are handcuffed until they produce that info. Now, do they have it? Yes, guaranteed, because there have been some rare circumstances when we've been able to get it. But as long as we don't have it, it's difficult to take it to the marketplace. It is not impossible, and we have done it successfully a couple times, by focusing more on your demographics and the aggregated claims information we can get, and taking advantage of a carrier. Harvard Pilgrim is typically our best partner for this, who happens to be aggressively buying business. So they rate you down and give you a better rate than you deserve on paper, taking a chance that your claims are better, and then after 1 year, they've got your claims info. And no, we don't let them burn you in the second or the third year. We don't let them do that.
And you can't go directly to the carriers, you have to go back through Maya, so you couldn't call up Blue Cross Blue Shield and say, I have an entity of blah, blah, blah. They won't
Blue
give it to you?
Cross's corporate policy up until 2 years ago was that they would never bid against Maya, because Blue Cross is the exclusive provider for Maya.
Okay.
Remember, Blue Cross provides for Maya exclusively. All the other carriers provide for the GIC exclusively. None of the other carriers in Maya, Blue Cross is not on the GIC.
Okay.
So there's an enormous amount of antagonism and competitiveness between them. What Blue Cross will do is they'll respond to the RFP independent of Maya, but miraculously they'll never beat Maya's price. I'm sure it's a coincidence. But if you happen to be coming out of the GIC, eligible to come out in 9 months, typically when we're bidding, Blue Cross, and because you're not in Maya, you're not in Blue Cross by definition, Blue Cross will extremely competitively bid your business.
So the claims magically appear.
Magically. It's really quite astounding, but I'm sure all quite a
Can
coincidence.
you elaborate just a little bit? I know that there have been concerns about the consistency of the pricing. Like you said
Yep.
they're not going to go after you the second or third year. Can you just make that very clear why?
The consistency of the pricing with respect to individual
Well,
communities?
as in, we switch this year and we get a really good price, and then next year,
They're gonna jack.
Yeah,
they're gonna
so
jack
here's
it
what
up.
happens.
So,
There
talk
are
to-
probably less than 10 or 15% of cities and towns in the state that don't have somebody like us. Everybody else is somebody like us. There's basically 3 companies that dominate this market space. There's us, NFP, who we used to be EBS Foreign. We were bought by NFP. So you'll hear both of those names out there. There's GBS, Group Benefit Strategies, which just got bought by Gallagher, and so you'll hear them in the marketplace. And there's Cook and Company. Now, between the three of us, we've probably got close to 230 of the municipalities in the state. And then there's a few smaller agencies, a Lively agency and some others that have a small sprinkling. And then there's a few commercial neighborhood brokers that, might have a personal relationship with the community or somebody, and so they do it. And to be candid with you, they don't know how to do the municipal stuff because it's a very specialized area. So the three companies do the bulk of it, and I would tell you honestly, they're both very good. I don't think they're as good as us, but they're good. But without somebody like that, you are completely at the mercy of the marketplace. And I don't know anyone who would rationally sit down, and I was a selectman for almost 9 years in North Reading, so and thank you for your service, by the way. I get that all the time because I'm a military guy, but thank you for your service, because when I was a selectman back in the 70s and 80s, I think it was a lot easier than it is for you now. So thank you for your patience and good work. But I don't know anyone that would rationally choose to pay hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for a commodity and not ensure that they were getting the best price through competition that they could get. But there's this myth out there, because for a long time, health insurance really wasn't competitively procured and couldn't be. But that market, that changed 15 or 20 years ago, and it's now hyper competitive. Aetna's moving into the state, Cigna's moving into the state, and the competition is ferocious with these carriers. We just quoted a town on the south part of, actually I think it's in the slide I'm going to show you, and we got them, and when we issued the RFP, we had 3 quotes: Tufts, Tufts, Maya, and Harvard. We had a negative 1.9, a negative 1, and a negative 3.6. And since 30B, the procurement law, does not cover health insurance, you can do things that are very outside the box. So we then sat down with those carriers and had a discussion, and I think it's going to end up settling at negative 6.5, maybe 7.5. We're still in discussions with companies. I think that's going to be best in the state of Massachusetts, by the way. But it's, as I'm going to show you in a minute, the marketplace is becoming hyper-competitive right now. It goes in cycles. Last year, because nobody knew what the Congress was going to do with health care, you couldn't get a competitive quote because the carriers were all desperately afraid of what it was they were going to be required to do in the year coming after the quote they were making. So and then all that changed. Now we know what the playing field is going to look like, and it's become hyper competitive right now. It's a great time to be out there in the marketplace. So we think the best option for you, because you're now a very small market, you're a very, very small community, is to regionalize. Take advantage of joining that collective purchasing power. And who do you logically regionalize with? The school in Boylston. So the conversation with the superintendent CFO is basically, yeah, they're very interested, but for obvious reasons, they would want, if they were going to do something like that, they would want to do it with both of their member communities. It's wonderful. I've got a beautiful model for how to do that. The Ashburnham-Westminster, 2 towns in the school district, which I personally did years ago, and that is an up and running JPA and working very effectively for those 3 communities. So we think that's your best bet, because once you're that size entity, 400 or 500 members, you're large, fairly large, and you're taken very seriously in the marketplace. You get a lot of notice. B, there's all sorts of analytics that we can do that we can't do because we can't get the data on you, and nobody can get the data. So as long as we can't get the data, as long as you're this small, you are an absolute captive of Maya. Very hard to do anything else. So if your claims are suggesting your loss ratios in the 70s and 80s, i.e. for every dollar you pay in premium, Maya pays out 70 cents in claims, you're leaving 30 cents on the table. Actually, not all of that, because about 15% is for administration, reinsurance, but you're leaving all the rest on the table. You're just paying it into a big trust, which is insuring other members who are not as cost-effective as you. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. We have clients that want to do that. But our job is to show them that, and then they can make a rational choice. But we certainly say to them, look, we think you can do better on the pricing, and usually folks want to do that. The implementation of the benchmark plan was a great step. That is putting in deductibles. He took advantage of the Municipal Health Reform Act. Now the benchmark plan, which is the plan you can implement without bargaining, except for sharing a fixed percentage of your first year's savings back with your employees. That benchmark is called that because it's the GIC plan design which is most heavily enrolled in. And so there was a benchmark 1 back years ago when the Municipal Health Reform Law passed. GIC voted a new plan design, increased the deductibles, and there's a benchmark 2. And then 2 years ago they did a third one, so there's a benchmark 3. The statute says you can implement anything equal to or less than the current benchmark plan. So this gives you wide latitude for implementation. You implemented, I believe, if I remember correctly, benchmark 2, which was probably the plan in place at the time you did it. That's a great step. And I hope it was done in a cooperative way with the employees and all the right things were done, because it's a very good way to modernize or contemporize your plan and to do it in a very cooperative kind of a relationship and achieve some very good savings. So kudos to you. That was a great move. The lack of a retiree plan, you don't have retiree health insurance. This is very unusual in Massachusetts. I think you're one of only 5 or 6 left in the state. And it's frankly going to hurt you with respect to employee recruitment and retention, especially your senior employees. I don't know anybody, myself included, that ever took a job and said, hey, am I going to get retiree health insurance? But you betcha, when you're in the last 10 years of your career and you're looking at that retirement, you betcha they're looking at that. Absolutely, positively. We can show you a very, very nice way to achieve that in a very cooperative manner with your employees. It's not going to involve spending any more money than you spend now on health care. And I can't tell you more than that, because then I'm giving away proprietary information for free. But I can tell you there's a very easy way to do it. And David will actually tell you, and I'll be happy to tell you too, because I've
Tell us
already
later?
discussed it with him.
I will, it's
Okay.
fine.
We've been doing all this for you for the last year for free, and I love doing that. My time's free. So how important is competition? Well, if you look at this next slide on page 16, then you're going to see the results of what's going on in Maya. So it kind of comes back to the question you asked me earlier, Lisa, about how do we ensure that when a carrier comes in and gives you a good deal, because they happen to be what we call buying business that year, i.e. increasing the size of their book of business and giving you a better deal than maybe underwriting says you deserve, how do we be sure you don't get burnt after that? Well, it's pretty simple. We look at claims, we take you back out. If we get a quote that isn't justified by claims, then we say to the town, this should have been a 3, it's a 7, you should not sit still for this. We'll go back to the carrier and negotiate, and I've been in lots and lots of negotiations. I remember being in one at Harvard Pilgrim years ago, and Charlie Baker came in personally, because it was for a very big client, and sat with us and had the negotiation, and we knocked a couple points off the rate. And if the company is recalcitrant and doesn't want to be cooperative and do what clearly is right, it's mathematics, then we go out to the marketplace, and we let them know we're going out to the marketplace. How important is that competition? This piece of paper shows you. For 2 years now running, we have had Maya clients coming to us saying, will you please be sure that we are getting the best deal we can get? Budgets are tight. Lots of towns don't want to pay more than they have to pay. And so they've come to us. This list on this page are all members of Maya. And these are all communities that you know and you can call. And we do this deliberately, even though this is pretty strengthful proprietary information. We share this with you publicly, knowing once we put it on this piece of paper, it can go anywhere. But we're proud of the fact Maya's range this year, and Maya, if you're not familiar with it, at the Thursday prior to the annual meeting, Board of Directors meets. They're presented with a presentation by their underwriters, or their actuaries, and they say, for the July 1st coming, the new fiscal year, to the end of that fiscal year, 18 months later, or 15 months later, Maya needs to raise this much money in order to cover claims administration and risk reinsurance. And we will give you a 95% assurance if you raise that much money that you will cover everything. And then they do a 90% assurance. I don't have any 85. And the Board of Directors sits around and has a conversation, says, okay, this is a tough year for cities and towns, we're going to give them a break and do a little bit less in premium, raise less, which reduces rates, risk a little more of our reserve, and we're going to set the total amount of money to be raised as this. The underwriters then go away and take that chunk of money and divvy it up to all the members, and that's how you get your rate. Board of Directors also votes a rate range. So for last year, I believe it was, if I remember correctly, it was about 5 to 11.7. So if you were my member, you didn't get less than a 5, and you didn't get more than 11.7. This year's rate range was 5 to -7, I believe it was. And the average was 0.6, plus 0.6. Now, we've been bidding, RFPing, bidding, our book of Maya Municipal Business, and this is not the complete list. There's a couple that aren't on here because they're actively negotiating right now, for 2 years now. Maya has felt that competitive pressure from us, and they felt the competitive pressure from the GIC, because Blue Cross Maya has lost a lot of cities and towns to the GIC. Last count was about 62. So Maya has made a decision to become much more aggressive in the marketplace. And so this year, we think, for the very first time, their range featured negative to positive. We don't think they've ever done that before. There's been years when it's been 0, but never negative. Please look at this slide. These are our municipal clients that we bid. The Maya average 0.60 positive, our average negative 3.08. That is what competitive procurement produces. Maya knows that we're involved. We're going to be very aggressive in the marketplace, and we're going to try to find our communities. This speaks for itself. Now, you might say, okay, so, and by the way, the majority of these renewals are Maya renewals. They're not commercial carrier renewals. Some of them are Fallon or Tufts or Harvard. I think only 1 or 2. The rest are all Maya. But this is a response to the aggressiveness in the marketplace right now, and the recipients of the benefit of all that are the cities and towns that got these renewals. I don't think you shared in that, even at a 0, because it wasn't possible to really present you competitively because of the size and the amount of data we could get. But there's ways around that. So here's our recommendations.
Excuse me, Kevin.
Yeah.
Real quick. We were competitive. The merger doesn't happen till July 1st, so we should have been competitive.
Well, no, the way it works, Dave, is when we go out to the marketplace, we have to give them a census. That's one of the pieces of information. So the census clearly identified, here are the current people in the plan. But we had to ask Dennis on that census who is leaving.
Okay, so July 1st.
Right.
All right.
Because they're quoting who's remaining.
Okay.
Had we not done that, it would be
Thank
very
you.
deceptive.
Another
We would have
insurance
got you a great
education.
result.
Thank you. All right.
Would have been against the law. Small details.
All right. We want to do it
So,
legal.
yeah, so we had to quote you as you will be on July 1st. And so that didn't produce the result that we had hoped for. So what do we recommend? Well, we recommend you consider issuing an RFP. We're not going to say that it's going to produce a better result, but we just think it's a rational choice. You can't do any worse, and there's a small chance you might do better. So we think it makes some sense. Continue to explore the JPA with the school district in Boylston. Why? Number one, it gives access to full claims analytics. All those things I said that we can look at in order to figure out how best to position you is in those claims analytics. And without them, it's so much more impoverished, the analysis we can do. We can look at your top 10 drugs that your employees use. And we can say, you should, because of the cost of these meds, you should carve out the pharmaceutical benefit and buy it separate from your health insurance. It's called the pharmaceutical carve-out. We do it for some of our clients because of the profile of the meds. Sometimes those meds purchased through the insurance company because of contractual relationships between the carrier and whoever is doing the 90-day mail order. Sometimes it's very expensive, and we can do better for you if we bid that separately. But we can't do that without those analytics. It takes advantage of geographic bias, takes advantage of risk sharing. The big advantage you get being part of Maya is risk sharing. You have a bad year, other people are picking up the slack for you. And you're not experiencing the full premium of what you would be if you were fully insured alone. Well, doing a JPA in your region takes advantage of those geographic biases and the fact that your employees are probably predominantly going to healthcare providers in this region and saving Boston for really serious medical conditions, which don't happen very often. So by partnering with folks out here, you take advantage of geographic bias, you still have risk sharing, and you're secure.
Kevin, can you just
Yep.
explain JPA? Because I
Sure.
know
Joint
that,
purchase.
I know, but some of the folks, we're very acronym happy.
Yeah, we are. And in the insurance
So just
industry,
wanna
we're
make
crazy
sure that it
happy.
gets out there,
I
correct.
swear, it's worse than the military.
I know.
So JPA, Joint Purchase Arrangement, is you collaborate with another government entity. Can be a city, a town, a special purpose district, fire districts, water pollution control districts, any municipal subdivision or subdivision of a municipal subdivision for the purpose of buying your health insurance together.
Thanks.
I've put 4 of them together personally. The company's put together probably a dozen. Right now in the state of Massachusetts, I think there's 8 or 9 of them working. There's a great one not far from you called Neshoba Valley Joint Purchase Group. Terrific group. There's the one that we formed out a little bit west of here. Maya is essentially a JPA, but they're separately legislated because of the size and some special privileges that they're allowed. So there's those JPAs are, there's a variety of them in the area, and they all from time to time could be advantageous to you. One of the things we would look at is, would you be well placed to be with the Berkshire group, it's called the Hampshire group, which is probably the biggest one in the state in terms of total numbers of members as opposed to total subscribers, or maybe the Neshoba Valley group. But the one thing that we didn't do 20 years ago when we formed most of these, and we've formed the last 2, the most contemporaneous one's being formed right now around Franklin. We used to form them, groups of cities and towns just say, hey, we'd like to be together. Yep, great, good. I'm my neighbor, that's great, we'll all get together. Well, what we found out is that's not a very smart way to do a JPA because you might decide to be, as when I formed the Southeast Mass Health Group 35 years ago, Easton and Mansfield partnered with the city of Taunton and Bristol County. That turned out very badly eventually because their claims were very different than ours. They had a much more aged population than we did, and we were frankly subsidizing them at an apocalyptic rate, and we needed to break that off. So today when we do these, we do them very, very carefully on the basis of compatibility of plan design, demographics, and claims. And we tell you, don't partner if you don't look like one another, because you're going to leave one group where you're paying too much, and you're going to go potentially to another where you're going to pay too much. It makes no sense. Now, that does not mean that over time, when you're in a group, that there is not some variance year to year. But what you want to do is shave that variation down as small as you can so that you're all as close to where you should be paying as possible. And that's what the whole regional JPA concept is now. And then all these different ways of financing we can take advantage of for you. Also lets you do, we recommend you do some employee education about contemporizing the plan design, get your employees to understand why it's a good idea to do that, and they find them to be very, very willing to consider changes, which are going to save them and you a lot of money. Retain a consultant, get somebody. Complete a detailed compliance audit. If you have not had a professional working with you, the chances are very good that you are out of compliance with these laws. Now, you can sail along for a long time and be not in compliance. And then somebody files a COBRA complaint because they leave town service, they don't get COBRA noticed, they call the Department of Labor, they file a complaint, and all of a sudden you're being audited for all of this. Because when the feds come in to audit you for one thing, they audit you for everything. And they are, I can't use the
Ruthless.
adjectives I'd like to use because we're being
Ruthless, that
filmed.
will work.
Ruthless is a great one, I like that. They can be very ruthless, and the fact that you're another level of government helps you a little, but it doesn't protect you entirely. Because they look at it as they are enforcing the laws that the Congress passed, and because you're a unit of government doesn't give you a free pass. And so they can be pretty tough. And I guarantee you get violations, it's just a matter of what are they. And the good news is, if you fix them, then you get yourself immunity, because the feds understand small communities don't know how to do this, and so if you get that fixed, then you're fine. Mass Health Reform Act, that has reports that have to get filed. Don't know if you're doing it, but we recommend somebody look at that. And a detailed eligibility audit. I will tell you, it is a sad thing, but, and I'm not saying you have anybody on your plan who shouldn't be on your plan, but unless you've done an eligibility audit, the chances are you do. Eligibility audit's pretty simple. You send a letter to all your employees and you say, hi, Bob, you're on the plan. And yeah, we see that, now you know Bob's an employee because he's on your payroll, but he has his spouse and 2 children on there. And you say to Bob, hey, we're going to need a copy of your marriage certificate showing us that you're, an eligible dependent. And by the way, you've got your child on here who is 25 years old and in college full-time. We're going to need a copy of their enrollment data direct from the registrar's office with the seal. I'm not saying you have anybody on your plan who's not supposed to be, but I will say unless you've done an audit, the chances are good. Why is that dangerous? Well, because the carrier who has been insuring that person, and I'm drawing on my own experience, and I will mea culpa right here publicly, my treasurer came to me when I was town manager in Easton and said, we just did an eligibility audit. And Cindy said to me, Kev, we've got somebody who's been deceased for 10 years. They were down in Florida and they died and we didn't know. And I said, oh my, don't tell me we've been paying premium on them for 10 years. She said, yep, we sure have. So I called Blue Cross, and you can imagine we didn't get anything back. Another person was on the plan unlawfully. This was in Foxborough. It was a spouse. And there are circumstances where you don't have to be married. You can be legally on the plan. But that's a beginning point. And in this particular case, the person was on the plan unlawfully. We identified that to Blue Cross, self-reported. And Blue Cross said, well, we've paid out $1.5 million in claims over the last 15 years, and this person, give us back our $1.5 million. We entered into a lengthy negotiation and ended up paying part of it back, but not all of it. That's the risk you have. So lest you think it is only a matter of, gee, somebody's on and they shouldn't be, but you know what, we're a small community and, we've got to help them out. If you're willing to take that liability, good for you, but it's really dangerous. So we do eligibility audits, and we basically say to folks, if you can't be legally on the plan, you can't be legally on the plan. Simple as that. So everything we've done for you up until now has been no charge, and we're more than happy to continue working for you through June 30th for no charge. After that, we would hope you might consider engaging us. So we are not expensive. We're absurdly inexpensive because we put a price out. $9,500 is what we charge our clients for the year for. The last 2 pages I don't go over unless you want me to, but it's all the stuff we do. I think you find it extremely detailed. We charge $95 for that, but if a town says, oh my goodness, $95 is so much money, we just say, well, what can you do? Now, then I look at the budget and I kind of say, really? But we're very flexible, with communities. And again, if you don't engage us, engage somebody, please, because you're really not getting the value out of your plan that you could, and there's all kinds of banana peels that, I wouldn't be saying this to you if I hadn't been a manager for 40 years, and just every aspect of my life has been public service. And cities and towns need help with this stuff. It's really complicated. So, any questions I can answer for you? I got a couple extra copies here. I'll leave them with Dave.
Have you talked, did Dennis know that Kevin was coming tonight?
I don't think so, I don't know.
Okay, because it probably would have been beneficial if he was here.
I agree, as information forwarded to the IAC would be beneficial too. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't- that's not the time, but
I
yeah, I
left
agree.
messages. I've sent emails, our office, Ken and I have sent emails and left phone calls, and we've not received any response, so.
I think, well, I think the plan was to perhaps go out to bid next year. That was how I understood it.
So I just want to be careful as the IAC chairman, and by statute and legislator, I get notice about the rates. The law says we have to know ahead of time. So we were never informed by statute of legislator of the rate increase or decreases. We have to have a meeting. We have to tell the employees. And then we come back to you. So there's some things that have gone different ways here. I'm very nervous about waiting till next year. This is something that can start right away. And in researching through Kevin's company and 2 others, I found out that things aren't cast in stone. They're still open to negotiations. And I do think it's very important. There has to be a channel of communication. And thankfully, Mary's been forwarding some of the stuff that I can disseminate to both the DPW workers, other police, and the school. But I don't find out about it till 2 to 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
This is, I sit here and I'm amazed, you know, by power of a state law, and a couple of years ago saying I do, Eloise swears me in, and I'm learning more about insurance the last 6 months than I did to pass college. 43 years ago this time, I was picking up brush at Chetco Farm, wondering what I was going to do with my $2. Go to Hudson to get an ice cream, or go to Clinton if I could get a ride. We need to all work together better here. As you saw tonight, the chief of police is covering calls to go help the fire chief on a medical call. David's here to represent the DPW workers. The 2 of them are in a training on autism downstairs. We all work together, and I don't want to wait a year. There's no reason to put this stuff off through 3 or 4 emails. We need to move forward with something, because the rates move forward every day, and the possibility to get a quote to lower our rates would not be worthwhile waiting too long. So, and I don't know all this stuff, and I don't pretend to know it. That's why I reach out. What I can tell you, I went to West Boylston. They have health fairs every month. They educate their employees. They inform them, their agency. The officers there, I'd like to say, are a little healthier than I am, based on opportunities that they've taken, including the DPW workers and the teachers and things like that. And they, I'm looking at it from a layman's term, and they're ecstatic at the results and services they've got. So I checked with Northborough, same thing. And that's what we're missing here. I'm
get it.
I'm curious why we talk about this 3 months ago and all of a sudden it's a 0. I would have liked a 3. I would have liked a few
My
other things.
understanding was that it was because budgets had to be in. It's the budget cycle.
And I understand, that's we're all
and
held by
that-
the constraints
right.
of that. But I don't think they're locked. Am I right in saying that there is still wiggle room on insurance rates or anything? Is it a certain time it has to be in?
That's what I was
Ideally-
gonna ask. I thought we had told Maya that we were going forward, so are we not locked
Well,
into that? or-
ideally, I
believe we did.
don't know, because, again, and I say this with all respect, because I don't know the local situation, but we've made multiple phone calls and emails, and none have been returned, so we don't know the situation. I asked what your renewal was. I didn't find out till tonight, because we were given that letter, but then we had no
Didn't.
communication,
I
so.
believe what the plan was, Dennis's plan.
Sure.
Was that we would do this next year, meaning have you come in next year. Because we didn't.
A consultant come in next year.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
a consent, yeah, we have to
Right,
look.
but we did want to hear from Kevin.
Right.
We appreciate
I-
that you brought him in at this point, that's fine.
I would tell you frankly that if you're hoping for a better result next year being July 1, 2020, you need to start working very,
Right.
very soon.
Because we couldn't make any decisions by December, which was the date by which we were gonna make a decision by. We felt as though we better wait until maybe
You've
the following
got to be
year.
doing 2 simultaneous
Right.
plans. One is to join with the district in Boylston
Well, then
and that
we
is
need
your
to have some
best option.
conversations, and you know how slowly
My,
those
well,
things
my
go.
understanding when I spoke with them was that until they are completely regionalized, they were not interested
Right.
in having those
Yeah,
conversations.
they told me
but
they were-
probably would at that point.
They were interested in opening a dialogue in June, and they would, and that's after they get the three contracts melded and,
Because I
you know,
don't
get
know,
all set
what's
up.
the date? It's
July
actually,
They-
I think it's a little later.
A little
I think it's
later.
See,
November,
Okay.
what can happen
Yeah,
for you,
yeah.
what can happen for you is you can put this JPA together, and it takes, you know, the summer to do
Right.
it. And then ideally, this is not the time of year to bid your health insurance. This is a very difficult time of year to do it.
And what is the best time of year?
Best time to do it is we issue the RFP in January, because as a Maya client, you want to get a Maya bid, because Maya often is your best bid as a client, because they protect you aggressively, especially right now. You saw those results, and that's going to be the case next year. So Maya will not produce their quotes until after the annual meeting, which is typically the third week of January, and then another 4 to 5 weeks in order for underwriting to start taking that money and dividing it up. Now,
So, but would it be prudent for us to get some of those other things started, like the conversation with Berlin-Boylston?
critical.
And then go out to bid next
Critical.
January?
Because
Yeah.
if you don't do that,
Right.
then come this time next year, you're going to be precisely in the same place
Yes.
you are tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Maya knows this as well as we do. You are a captive of them. They have utterly no incentive to give you a competitive quote. None. Because you can't go anywhere else. And they know this.
Because they won't give us the data.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
And if you look at, and I'm saying this publicly on camera, and I'm willing to defend it in a meeting, and I say it right to anybody that cares to listen publicly. I sat on that board for a decade, I chaired it for 3 years, I know exactly how it operates. Maya has an imperative to keep its trust together. There's nothing illogical about that, because their point of view is without the trust, cities and towns will suffer. And they're right. The choice for any individual city and town is to decide if you want to pay into Maya more than you can, more than you should, or if you want to get your taxpayers a better deal. Now, I'm not saying over the course of a year, one cycle, or even two, that you shouldn't do that. What I'm saying, and what we look at is at least a 3-year history, and we usually try to get 4 or 5. And if you've been consistently over 3 to 5 years paying more than you should, that's when we say to you, rationally, you should not be part of that group. You should be part of another group. Maya will still exist. Maya's going to do fine. They're going to be fine. But for communities that are this far outside of Boston and have that geographic bias going on, look at that list of communities, almost predominantly outside of the Boston area, and all doing much better than they would have had they not been aggressively marketed. And if Maya didn't produce those quotes, the private carriers would have produced them, and they would have all left Maya, and Maya knows it. So Maya stepped up to the plate and did a great thing for them. So looking at trying to get this regional thing set up, it's got to start in June. June's even late.
right.
But if you start in June, then come next fall, you'll be in a position to bid as a single entity. You will be the, whatever you'd like to name it, entity which will be bidding its insurance as 400 or 500 members, the town of Boylston, the town of Berlin, and the regional school district, just like Ashburnham, Westminster, and the regional school. And you will be in a much stronger position, will get much, much better flexibility with respect to, your options go from this to that.
Right.
And that's basically
Yeah.
what you're doing for yourself.
I think we're
So-
just trying to do the timeline so that it works for everyone.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you what your recommended timeline would be based on what you're telling us now. What would you do, like
Start
starting
the conversations in June.
Okay.
Right now, go out to the marketplace, have a conversation through a broker. Is there anybody out there who's willing to look at you and take a chance? Probably not. I mean, it's really late.
So
but-
probably right now, sticking with Maya, and starting the conversation?
You're probably
Yes?
going to do that for this year. And a
Yeah.
zero is
Okay.
not a bad,
That's what
not
we're
a bad
trying to-
situation.
No.
Okay.
So you're probably stuck with that, whether you do something competitive or not, a real RFP or just a conversation with the carriers. You probably will end up, zero is probably the best you're going to get for this year.
Okay.
The next step is to begin talking to the employees about everything I presented you with tonight. Now, that takes 2 or 3 meetings, and begin getting the employees to understand what is a deductible, how does it work, what's a copay, how does it work, why is increasing deductibles and copay, why does that make sense, what is this regionalizing concept, what's Maya, what's a JPA, what's Neshoba Valley Health Group, all those sorts of things, partnering with your communities, with your employees, beginning that process so that come June, when you start having hopefully more detailed conversations with the school and with Boylston, the law requires you to engage the IAC in a conversation about this. Requires, that's not an option, it's
Oh, I
the
know.
law.
Yep.
The IAC is required to report back to you with any change to the health plan that you desire to make. Now, it's a non-binding recommendation, but it is a requirement that they recommend. It gets ignored a lot, frankly, and that's because IACs allow it to be ignored. They shouldn't. But if they step up and say, wait a minute, we're over here with a little old IAC, we want to chat about this, then engaging them in the conversation is a great thing, and you get a great asset here in Dave, because he's interested. So that's what needs to happen. Well, I'm just being real
I'm
honest.
confused, too, so
I'm
I mean,
being
it's...
very honest about the way this stuff works, and works effectively. Engage the IAC in the next few months and all those sorts of things with a monthly meeting of 2 or 3 hours. And come June or July, when hopefully those conversations with the school and the town, Boylston, have merited something, and you're saying, okay, let's put this together. You put it together, and then and it takes a lot of work to gather all the information that we're going to gather to put that RFP together. That's about a 6-week process on our side of the table. And then about January, we issue it with a due date for probably late February. By the way, the Maya quotes go out first to the Jeopardy accounts. Anybody who's represented by NFP or GBS, well, Gallagher now, because Maya knows that we are representing you now. We know as much as they do, and they need to pay attention, because if they don't pay attention to you, they'll lose you. So you get your quotes first. So we make those RFPs due around mid-February when Maya's ready to deliver. And then we analyze the results, meet with the IAC, come in here, see you, give you the results. The IAC makes its report, you make your decisions. So the dual plan is one plan with the JPA, the other is what if that doesn't happen? What's the best thing we can do for Berlin if you don't go into a JPA? And that involves looking at all those other options, the Neshoba Valley, et cetera. But absent doing any of those things, I've been coming out here chatting with folks for 3 years now, 2 years, something like that. And we've been offering to do this for you all that time. And we're still having this conversation. I'm elated to be finally talking to you folks tonight, because I feel like I'm talking, to folks that are really listening and understanding what we're saying and processing. And we'd love to be able to help you out with this. We really would. So this is how I get my...
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Well, it's been awfully nice meeting y'all, and I really do wish you well. It's still in my blood in a big way. Never will leave it.
Can I ask one question before I have to go back, and they're all going to ask me. It's going to happen tomorrow and like that. You say the conversation starts later, and we meet together. We're going to meet together like we have for the last 5 years and kick the can down the road. We don't understand the industry, anyone in this building, as much as you or other companies do. So I don't want to delay. I have to tell them, well, we're going to talk in November. This conversation needs to start in June, as he said, with some agency that understands insurance and what's best for the town of Berlin and its employees. Not the IAC, not the treasurer, not the board. It's got to be somebody with an expertise that's working on the behalf of the employees in the town. And my fear is that I'm leaving here saying we're going to do something in November. And I'm a little nervous of that. Do you understand? I've got to carry the right message back.
Well, I was just going to suggest that, it's too bad that Dennis wasn't here, because he has a big part in this,
Correct.
and that perhaps maybe you and I could sit down with Dennis and have a conversation and, share a timeline. Figure out a timeline. Does that make sense?
It does. I want to assure the employees that we're looking with due diligence to somebody or some company that understands this ever-changing insurance world and the timelines on it that could change. And I also want to caution, I don't like saying the word, I should have coached them, but I didn't want to. Don't use the word regionalization. There's a fear factor among residents in that. I love the joint purchase agreement, that whatever works best for the town and the employees. But, we're going to come into summer schedule, and the next thing you know, they're going to call me and going to have a meeting, and rates are going to change, and that's not my expertise.
Let me
I'm a
help you
voice.
let me help you with one thing that might be very helpful to you. NFP is a big company. They do a lot of loss leader type work. I do tons of it. I've worked in communities for 2 years and not been paid because I'm retired and I really love this stuff. And as I said, it's in my blood. I can't not love municipalities. I'll come here for the next few months and do every other week meeting, a monthly meeting, whatever you like. And we're not interested in charging you for that.
Why don't we?
We'd
why
like
don't
to
we
have
set something up
some
then?
reasonable assurance at some point you might, but we don't have to have a guarantee. We really would like to see you make some progress, and if that means, coming out here and helping you out on what we've been doing already for the last few months, we're happy to keep doing it. We do lots of that kind of work.
Right.
That's, by the way, that's what we call marketing. We show you what we do, we say, gee, look, and you hopefully say, wow, these guys are really good, and then somebody calls you and says, hey, what about, and you say nice things about us.
And
So-
we did budget for this.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yes.
again,
So it
we're
is
not,
in- it is in the
even if you
budget
budgeted for it,
Thank you.
we're
And I
not,
did tell the employees, you
So-
conveyed that, we heard that, I
We
conveyed
put
that.
that in the budget
Right.
for July 1 coming up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
great. So-
too, if you're gonna talk to Dennis, I would have him watch, because I asked specific questions because I knew that Dennis had concerns about certain things. So a lot of the
Mhm.
questions that I was asking were in regards to things that I knew Dennis would question.
Yep.
So I got answers that I hoped would be helpful with that.
good.
We'll
good.
tell them to watch the meeting.
Yeah.
Again, I took more of your time than you expected. I apologize for that, but I hope I gave you a really good, complete picture of what's been happening and what's possible. And like I said, it's a real pleasure meeting y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. Thank you,
Good to
Brandon.
see you.
Thank you for the extended time. I'm just going to
My
ask
pleasure.
that all information is, if you talk to Dennis, that it's conveyed timely.
Thank you.
We need to be conveying timely, yes.
Mary, good to see you.
Connect with
All
me,
right.
And then we can
No.
connect with
This
them.
Thank you,
Is there-
audience, for a lengthy discussion, so.
Kevin, when you said EBS, is that Employee Benefit Solutions? Are they out of New Jersey?
Nah, we were actually a little company in Massachusetts called
Okay.
Employee Benefit. Oh my goodness.
Only-
EBS foreign, but it wasn't that. I don't
Only
actually-
because
I
in
worked
my
for
old
for-
job, EBS was one of our TPAs, and so when you
Oh,
said
no
that,
kidding,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I wonder if it's the same one.
Yeah, no, different company.
Okay.
John called it a boutique consultancy, 'cause we got about 30 clients and that was it.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thank you for coming.
All right, back to the agenda and the bill schedule for 6750 to MRI for the fire EMS chief recruitment services.
Motion to approve.
That was a second?
Yeah, sorry, I yawned, I covered my mouth, seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go. So the cable access would like to surplus a computer server rack because there's been no interest shown by public safety departments. Is there any questions or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to surplus?
Yep.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I also
Any-
asked if Highway could take it to the transfer station and throw in the metal pile.
Okay.
It's big.
Can you ask
Okay.
Dave to do that?
Ah. Thanks for the point. Okay.
We have a letter to thank Sylvia Marble for the donation for 2019 Mabel Marble Memorial Scholarship, which will be $3,000 this year.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Why did I think we did this already?
This is coming up again where kids apply.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought we had already sent a, go ahead.
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay.
So did we have a motion and a second? Yes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a letter that was drafted to the COA. Did you want to elaborate, or?
Basically, I worked with June to make sure that the things that we discussed at the Friday meeting that we had with Holly would work. And I made the necessary changes to the letter from that day.
Okay.
Do you have any questions or comments, or?
No?
No, I mean, and I sent you both out an email earlier today, this afternoon, that I had received a call from a member of COA questioning if Holly could help out with some issues going on at Northbrook Village 1 and 2. I reached out to Judy, because I knew that she was Northbrook gal when this first started, and she gave some clarification, so I think Judy's gonna go tomorrow to talk. I don't know if one of the both of you are going as well, probably just to clear up a little bit, because the way that it was presented to me was Holly was hired as a helper, to which I said, no, Holly is the director, and as such has a number of responsibilities, policies, procedures. So I don't know if there's a real clear sense of what Holly is supposed to do versus what she's perceived to do. So I'm hoping you can kind of clear that up. So there was the Northbrook, items such as, she should go to some of the meetings that everyone's been going to. It's like, well, what are those meetings? Well, I don't know. We'll have to get you a list. Okay. There's issues about a pool table in Northbrook 1 that Northbrook 2 wants, but Northbrook 1 won't fork it over because no one uses it. So, could you help out? And, there was trash receptacle that was too full last year, and, they're calling and no one's getting back to them. So I don't know if it's Holly's jurisdiction or if it's the association's jurisdiction, but if that message probably through Judy can be conveyed back, I'm hoping that will clear up the helper versus true director. This is what Holly's supposed to do, kind of in accordance with Lisa's letter.
Responsibilities are
Yep.
outlined there, so.
Yeah.
And we can also include the job description again if
I
necessary.
appreciate that, thank you.
Well, I was planning to go tomorrow.
Okay,
Were you?
As was I, yeah.
Okay.
cool.
So do we want to vote to approve the letter that was drafted?
Motion to approve?
Second,
And attach the job description to it.
Yeah.
please.
Yes, please.
All in
I
favor?
cut and pasted some. but-
Aye.
Aye. Too many paper clips.
Alrighty.
Alright. And I had put this letter to the Rodells, it's
I can just do one tonight. It's just a simple communication back that they
Okay,
did not discuss doing anything like that at their hearing. Do you want me to
yes,
draft something for you to look at before I send it? I'll just draft it tonight.
sure, or
I think
tomorrow.
I think even an email works for them. I don't think that they need much more to give to corporate.
Okay, that's fine.
So I didn't do that yet.
All right, we've got the Berlin Board of Trade, and approving April 9th through the 13th closure of South Common Pond for the fishing derby on April 13th, co-sponsored by Recreation. They did take a vote. Okay,
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
okay, all in favor?
Aye. You going down throwing fish in? Don't they always
I
ask?
might, I think my grandson might have a fishing pole, so take.
Well, no, you can't go fish, you
No, I
gotta throw
mean-
the fish in
Oh,
first.
maybe I'll go
Throw
watch
fish?
them throw the fish in. But I was thinking going down
To the,
the
yeah.
13th, seeing as how we get a fishing pole for Christmas. Intermittent payroll signing authorization for Chief Concanon to Sharon McGowan in Chief Concanon's absence.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the annual town meeting warrant update.
In the copy that I just handed out, I did just put in the change, that 7A, the article transferring lots to the selectmen. I just
Mhm.
took exactly what she said and put it in there, and Dennis is aware of it.
Okay. And he was okay with that too?
Yeah, I think he understands that.
Okay, so that was one of the changes. Did we get anything from Finance Committee to say they're,
They actually had some questions about the wording in that. I told Mary that I would look at it and make sure, because I had talked to her, I talked to Buzz about intent, and they were concerned that we hadn't written it correctly. But I don't know that I had seen it after the changes that we had put in.
okay? So
The
you-
changes by town council?
No, there were, taking out the piece that said we were going to, mail on request, was it? What was the?
Oh, yeah, it was not gonna be mail on request, it was just gonna be available at the town offices.
Yeah, and I know that they were, there it is.
Yeah, so I'm working from the copy of the warrant that town council sent back. That's like 2 or 3 weeks out of step with whatever. You know, I actually do need you all to look at this to make sure that everything's caught that you want in here. What one was that? Page 16, Article 38.
Is that the annual town report one?
So that is
Mhm.
section 12. Oh, yeah. So the and if requested by an employee be delivered. So the selectmen shall positively printed and posted town website for public use and made available.
Yeah, this looks right.
No, section 12 isn't.
Because it says
Section-
if
oh, I didn't
requested
read
by a
section
voter to be
12.
delivered.
And
Okay,
to be made available.
okay. But they were questioning, they seemed to think we weren't mailing anything, that we were putting it all up on just on the website. And it says right there that at least 5 days before the day fixed in the warrant for the annual town meeting, the selectmen shall cause to be delivered or mailed to each voting
must.
household in the town a copy of the warrant, yeah.
Yeah, the law, you must.
Oh, I know.
But
And
not
that's-
the annual town report, you don't have to.
Right, that's what I said, but they were
Mhm.
concerned about that, so I think that I think that we're okay. But probably I will pop in on Wednesday to see if they have any other questions.
Okay. I probably have that on my calendar too.
Oh, well, if
you
you
want
wanna,
me.
it doesn't matter.
I can just tell-
One of us should just be there to make sure that
Right.
it's clarified.
Okay.
What the actual intent of that is, because they were concerned about the
Do
wording.
you want one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that has a change in it. That's exactly what
Yeah.
you have in the printed warrant.
Okay, so just need, did they want this clarified? Or is
Well,
it
I
clear
think-
now?
No, I can fix it and I can send it to Lisa or you guys if you want to look at it.
Okay,
It's just going to change the very last sentence of that section 12.
Pretty much available for pickup.
Yep.
yeah,
Printed
that's
copies to be
right.
made available at the town offices.
Right,
Yep. Because I think they were concerned that we weren't printing it at all and that,
yeah,
and I said, no, the intent was always to print some copies and
yeah, okay.
probably less over time, but.
All right.
When the
So-
FinCom met with you all last week, they said that they were not going to recommend some things. Do you want them not in the warrant, or do you want them to stay in the warrant with a negative recommendation from the FinCom? Like the police cameras, the public safety roof?
Well, I think they were pushing it to the next year, the cameras, anyway.
As long as the parties involved are in agreement, I think we should just take them out.
Yeah, but I think we would have to talk to them and get approval that, perhaps something they're gonna argue for anyway. We don't know. We can't just take it out without,
So leaving it as is for now.
for the moment anyway.
Okay,
And
okay.
then if there's discussion, I think FinCom's gonna have discussion, or capital
I think
planning's gonna
they-
have
I think
discussion
a
with these
couple more.
groups.
I think FinCom has already been talking to, I think they already talked to the police and the fire.
Right.
And they were mostly in agreement except for the equipment.
Okay, because
they
I
need a
don't
value
know,
in there.
that was only verbal,
Oh, I know.
And
That's
I
what I'm saying,
don't-
we have nothing in
And
writing.
that's fine, but,
right.
maybe we can.
So I don't wanna take it out just
Maybe
yet.
we can send the email and just say, are you okay with these things being removed?
Okay.
So that we know.
To those departments that are having their things removed.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
and
it's
I'll-
just fire and police, right?
Fire,
that they
police,
mentioned, I don't know
the
if there were
roof of the
others.
public safety building, which is municipal buildings. And, was it the parking lot up front too?
Yeah,
Parking lot was
so-
never in the warrant, was it?
It's been,
No, it's not in
It's
this
it's not in the
warrant,
warrant, but it was on the capital plan as a request for this year, right?
that they
They
moved it out
I
again.
thought.
Yeah, it's not in here.
Right,
The fire EMS pumper tanker, Article 18,
mm-hmm,
I don't even know where the original language came from, but it's saying a lease/purchase, which town council's striking out, and they're saying acquiring and equipping a pumper tanker. And then there's a 2020 deadline for it to be purchased, but then there's another sentence that says, I authorize the selectmen to lease purchase said pumper tanker for a period of up to no more than 3 years. Just doesn't make sense with the sunset clause. Do you know what I mean? If it's
I
not
don't
used by.
believe they were intending to lease it.
No, I thought they were gonna buy it.
The chief actually put in lease/purchase, and I didn't think lease was ever in the discussion either, so that's why.
Right, and
think
you might
the
wanna
lease should
check with
come
Jim
out.
about that, just to be sure, or,
He drafted it.
Oh,
Tate,
Jim did?
so-
no.
Or the chief did.
Fire chief, yeah.
So they put in lease,
Paul
that's
did.
what I'm saying, is so it doesn't make sense to have a sunset clause of 2020
Right, if it's a
and,
lease.
well, with the selectmen having up to 3 years authorization to go lease or purchase one, so it's one or the other. And do you want the authority to spend for that to be the selectmen or to be the fire department?
I think it's been the fire department, has it not, for fire trucks? I don't know.
Doesn't really actually say. Well, it says the authorize the board of selectmen, I just don't know if that's what you wanted.
It does.
Can we look at the past ones? And just see how it was drafted?
Like on the ladder truck.
Yeah, the ladder truck was Was it last year or the year before?
2 years ago.
Or,
Yeah, at least a year
no,
before.
it's actually
Mhm.
more than,
When was
maybe
the
3
last
years.
truck?
June suggested the planning board master plan have a 5-year sunset, only because they do it on a 5-year cycle. She just didn't want the planning board to be hamstrung on when they burnt the annual $5,000 allotment that they use to update bits and pieces of it. That's not like it's a lot of money, though. The self-contained fire apparatus also, just let the chief know that that's coming out, or is that not coming out?
My guess right now is that they're negotiating for a lower amount. But that's still going back and forth with finance.
And what about earthworks? When are they meeting? Are we gonna start bumping up
April-
against where?
April 4th
Oh.
was their meeting.
Should we ask for their feedback to get back to us by the next day?
Well, they need to meet. They would have to
Yes.
post a meeting.
They
You want
did,
them-
they
They
have a
haven't
meeting for
posted.
April 4th.
Oh, get back the
That's-
next day after the
Yes,
meeting.
the next day
Yeah.
after that.
And if they can't, then we'll pull it? Because we really can't go up to the deadline again on this. We've made so much progress.
Lynn normally has things back pretty quickly. I would not be shocked if he had it back the next day.
Okay. Can we send them a gentle
sorry.
nudge, though, if it doesn't come back?
Earthworks, we need it back sooner rather than later, and they're scheduled for April 4th. So if they can get it back to us, if maybe you know somebody on that board, if they could get it back to us the day after, that would be
Text them.
awesome, their feedback.
Here I was going, why is she talking to these people?
You can't hear.
I got it.
Yeah.
She said.
I got it now.
Yeah.
Subtitles.
Then she's gonna have me laugh.
And out goes the text. Okay.
All right.
Mike?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Reminder for you to
Flip
talk to
phone.
him? Oh, that's right, flip phone,
I'm looking at
sorry.
his email because I thought there was another meeting.
Okay.
Is there anything else you need clarification on, Mary?
I just changed the single-use bag ban as town council suggested, and I copied conservation to say this is what she did to it. Same with the planning board's article. I
Yeah.
just showed them what she did to it, and I changed it.
And you haven't
in here.
heard back, so.
Well, I
That's
just
it.
sent it today.
Yeah. Oh.
So-
Well, I had given Carolyn that,
Okay, I don't know about the planning board, but I
previously, so,
let the planning board know too.
because we have to coordinate with Hudson, so, if you have, so you sent her the finished one?
I just sent it with town council. Yep, incorporating all the
With it
changes from town.
incorporated? Okay, because I sent her the one with all the gobbledygook in it and told her
I
I'd get her the
I
other
sent
one.
both.
Okay.
And then to Buzz, I sent
Thank
the
you.
CPA rewrite on how to institute the Community Preservation Act Committee.
Okay.
And I adopted all those changes because I figured that that's the what you'd want to go with,
Right.
right?
Unless they have some kind of an issue with it.
I sent it to them to look,
Yeah.
just that he's aware
And
of it.
sometimes no news is good news.
Well, there's not that many changes. Yeah.
And the school committee
Yeah.
may pass over, is that,
Yeah, they're
the way
kind
they're
of
gonna leave
suggesting
it
at
alone
least
and-
just change the name of it to the Transitional School
Right.
Committee. And also, I guess they have a history of never drawing on it anyhow.
no,
that
that's
true?
not true.
That's what Rob
You know what?
Connery said, at least in recent years, I guess that no one's asking for it.
I think because I was the one that used to put in for the stipends.
Oh.
And once I was gone, they probably didn't do it
Oh.
Is that the
anymore.
$50 one?
Yeah. Well, it used to
Yeah,
be
it's
$300.
$50.
Wow.
Hmm.
Woo-woo. Huh?
Whoa, hey.
Yeah, then they reduced it, but then they weren't drawing on it apparently, I don't know.
And I guess the POTUS thing is moving along.
Is this gonna end up being a special town meeting?
Maybe.
Because it just doesn't seem like it's gonna get into,
Maybe that's something the applicant
warrant.
can be asked to bear the cost of. I don't know.
is anybody doing any negotiating? Not
Keep
that I
telling
know
KP,
of.
like, there's like 3 different KP law lawyers handling different pieces of it. Vicky Marsh is doing the restrictive covenant.
Right.
Protective covenant, and
Richard Holland,
is doing the pilot, and then there's a Marsters who's doing the right of first refusal. And he
And-
doesn't think that there was effective notification to the town on the right of first refusal. Where all this rests, I don't know, because I don't think they literally understand, no matter how many times you say it, that you've asked them to do it from beginning to end.
Yes,
But I don't think
because
they're
I don't think
interfacing with-
anybody's negotiating the numbers.
It doesn't sound like it.
Nope. I don't have the feeling that one might not be ready.
Then I had a paralegal reach out about the right of first refusal last week, and I'm like, I don't know why you're not connecting with
The
counsel on
attorneys.
this. Yeah. Even though KP Law said they did notify them that the notice was ineffective, so you need
It's a little frustrating, huh?
you need a whiteboard to kind of keep track of what they're doing or not doing.
So at what point do we pull it?
Well,
Delete, well,
When we
the
send it
language in
in-
there's probably ineffective.
when we're ready to send this thing in, then we're pulling it.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
My-
I mean, we have to wait until at least April 4th, or April 5th, whatever's after that, for the earthworks one.
right.
So, at that point, we're about,
And what day is the 5th? Or the
Uh,
4th?
April-
Thursday?
I got a calendar here somewhere.
I was looking for your
It's on
calendar.
the
I don't know where
back,
it
it's on the
went.
back of the list of the meeting dates.
No.
Ah,
Monday's the first. Yeah,
So the
Monday's the
4th?
first.
okay.
so the 5th would be a Friday,
That Mary's not here.
right? It would be nice if they could reply all to all of us with their,
Thursday night?
well,
Yeah.
no, I'm just saying, so that we have it for Monday morning. They could reply all, and the board could actually look at the email over the weekend.
Which would be, so you're talking about for the meeting for the 8th? Do you have a certain date that you intend to sign the warrant? Because we're just really chugging along
Well,
here.
if we finalize it on the 8th,
Yep.
can we maybe plan to finalize it on the 8th? Does that
Well,
make
that's
sense?
hoping that
Mhm.
there's nothing left for Amy to look at on that, like yet another iteration of that.
True.
Because Joe is the driver on that, and Joe's not here. Richard Hanks does not know what this is, and he's not necessarily involved in it. So it leaves
Well, that one can also, I mean, it's not,
a
if
barn
it goes
burner
another,
meeting.
Round.
then it's,
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
yeah.
Okay.
But we'll do our best, so.
Well, no
Well,
way to do it
hopefully-
sooner, it looks like.
I mean, this is all going into the annual town report. Are there other things that are holding that up?
I don't think so. Supposedly, they're doing pretty well.
Okay,
They
Oh,
don't have
she's
the
not-
budget
she's
yet
here.
either.
Yeah, she just boogied.
They don't have the budget not finalized, so they're waiting
right,
for
and
that
the,
too.
and,
Which are the two things that
and what
normally-
was the date
and-
that Buzz said that they were going to meet one more time in April? Do you remember?
Didn't he say he
I don't remember
had
either.
3 more meetings after when we met, so?
No, they have this coming Wednesday, and
Mhm.
that's it. And then one in April, after they've given,
I think it's the first
Feedback
Wednesday in
to
April, though.
everyone.
I think it's
So then
like,
by the 3rd, they're done.
Okay, so let's
Okay.
plan to finalize it on the 8th,
Yep.
give Mary a couple days, whatever you need to get it in printable form,
yeah.
and then
and then we'll
we
send
can
it
come
out.
in
Put it on the 8th
individually and
agenda.
sign it, right?
Yep,
Right.
And then if the items are done, they go, and if they're not, they pull.
Yep.
Easy peasy.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good. Okay, are we good with the warrant then?
Mm-hmm.
Feedback from capital planning committee appointing authorities. Haven't heard anything, huh?
Planning meets tomorrow night, I think, and it's on their agenda.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Wasn't there feedback from Dennis, or am I imagining that in my head?
Well, he's not an appointing authority, but yeah,
Yeah.
he gave feedback.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just gave his
Okay.
own feedback on how things worked previously.
All right.
Well, I was going to suggest if there was no feedback, and I didn't know that planning had a meeting coming up, that we just take a vote to have the capital plan changed, but we can wait another week if you'd like,
Put it on Monday's agenda.
okay? And what is that? Is that the
April 1st.
1st? Oh, boy.
I'll behave. It is April Fool's Day, just saying.
Yes.
What do you wear for April Fool's Day?
I think it's a costume. I don't know.
All right, building department monthly update. we had a report sent to us from Richard Hanks, our alternate building inspector. I thought it was a good report,
Mm-hmm.
excellent as far as details. I really appreciated it. Anybody else want to add anything?
No, I mean, I think it was either Leanne or Richard that had chimed in where the tablets went out, and that there were some organizations that seemed to be a little bit hesitant to sign up for the training or work them, and I was just concerned, are you moving the sand pile? That everything gets through building, Richard cleared out the backlog in January, February, but when it gets to those committees who haven't signed up, does it stop?
Yeah. Leanne can override though.
Okay, cool.
They can override. She
All
had
right.
sent, didn't you get the email back?
I think
There
so.
was an email back.
Yeah, I thought I did.
There
All right.
hasn't been an issue up until now, and Leanne has the ability to override if
Sweet.
there's an issue.
Okay.
It would be nice, though, if they would.
If everybody was
Sign
on
up.
Very
board.
good.
Agreed.
Yes.
All right. Executive recruitment updates. I don't believe there's anything for fire EMS or town administrator.
We're waiting.
That
One's
I
the
know
5th,
of.
one's the 8th as the cutoff days.
The 5th and the 8th, is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it might be the other way. The fire might be the 8th, the other's the 5th, but it's either or
Mm-hmm.
for those, so I doubt that we'll hear anything until probably the 8th. If the 5th is Friday, the 8th is Monday, so maybe even the week after.
Mm. Well, they may be in touch.
Yeah.
Whitney Estates update. I don't believe I have anything. I don't think
You're
we've
gonna
heard.
talk about whether or not to release town council's
Oh.
decision, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I.
And town council said it would be your call. I guess she didn't
Oh,
really
that's right.
weigh in as to whether she thought there was any risk to that or not, but she just said it was
I
your
don't-
call.
I don't think it's necessary at this point. We gave an update about the
And we also
generalities
gave. And we also gave.
Amy's
contact
information.
information to Rebecca, so I think we're probably okay with that one.
Okay.
Council on Aging, the transportation policies and procedures, and the COA van driver policies.
Were we just doing the van driver policies that she sent over, or?
What's that?
Were we just doing the van driver policies that she sent over? I'm not sure what transportation policies, what was meant by that.
I don't know if that's just inclusive. I don't know that there were
I thought there
several
was-
different policies,
There were
but
some forms.
I thought there was one, and then she said, what are the other ones that you want, so that we can just keep them moving.
Were there attachments I didn't print out there?
yeah, you didn't print out the policies, but that's okay. I mean, we've read them.
Do you know, do you want me to print it out? Do you know what they are?
Does anybody want them printed out?
No.
No, no, no.
No, 'cause
You don't
I-
have to.
No.
I mean,
Oh, okay.
looked
I've
at
read them and made comments, I'm good.
These are the policies for the driver. They are similar to ones through Boylston.
They are Boylston's,
They are
yes, I
Boylston's,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. They don't fit our program here, but they are Boylston's, you're right.
Why don't they fit our program
Well,
here?
there's a whole bunch of things that we don't do that they do and vice versa.
So have you given this feedback back to Holly?
Yeah, we tried to establish a committee to look at this, and it was made up of Mrs. Wheeler and Mrs. Zukatinsky, who's one of the drivers, and I think
Is it Lori?
Mr. Bradley was on it, and anyway, and Holly, and they were going to look at all of the policies and see what would fit with Berlin and what wouldn't, and that hasn't come to fruition, to my knowledge. No one has set a meeting up or met, so there was some feedback, and there were edits to what she proposed in the 17 or 18 pages of policies we have here.
The-
We highlighted the board and one of our members did some professional editing for us, and we sent that back to her and said, these are the items that we need to discuss, and that's the end of where that's all been.
We have one policy that's about a page long
Mm-hmm.
for the van policies.
I've got van policies,
Yeah.
that there are two complete packages on that.
Mhm.
One's called Berlin Council on Aging Van Transportation Driver Policies and Procedures. And the other one is called Berlin Van Policy and Procedures. And, well, this one is, I don't know, 7 or 8 pages. And this one's
Sorry.
only 4.
Mary, could you
So-
make it for George so
was
he
it-
can comment? It's, I can send it to
Yeah,
you if
could
you
you?
need me to.
The real question here is, you know, are we going to work together and see if we can come up with a solution? Or are we going to just keep bouncing this back and forth? You know, and she comes to the Board of Selectmen and says one thing, we go to a meeting where the board says, let's do this, and that doesn't happen. And I did happen to see the copy of the video from the last meeting, and frankly, I don't know what's going on. I'm just astounded. I don't know what to say. It's, we changed the date of meetings for her convenience. We changed the way we pay bills for her convenience, allowing only one person to have to sign so that she could simply go down the hall and have Fran sign the bill, one person, and get that all processed. Peggy, who has been doing all the finances for us
On
for
its way,
years,
Mary.
put a folder on her desk, which has been there for years, which has all of the transactions that are done by anybody who's putting a bill in. That's all filed there monthly. And of course, Peggy does all the internal finances coming in. She takes all the money and deposits it and deals with June. Peggy gives us a monthly report on the status of each account, which is in our minutes every month. That's discussed if anybody has any questions. You know, I don't really know. I'm confused. And so is the rest of the board, frankly.
Well, I think part of the problem is that Holly was hired to do specific things, and one of the things that she's actually supposed to be doing is the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
And we
So,
wholeheartedly
and-
agree and would love to
Okay.
have her do that as soon as she can manage to find time to do it.
well, I think there are
But
some
there'll be
issues with
nothing
it
I would
going
like
through.
more than to say, here, please do all this. Because
Then-
I'm right now doing hours
then-
of work.
Do it.
Well, we've
Give
been
it to her.
trying to give her pieces of it to assemble
Just-
and do it all. She
Give
can't
it
do
to
it
her.
all because she doesn't know where the bills are coming from, you know? So when we do them, I put them on her desk and they get processed. I have them all here. I don't even.
Well, we need to just, that's specific. If we're going to approve that tonight, we need to know if there's something specifically in there that you have problems with.
I don't really know where to begin, but assuming we have a meeting tomorrow night, or tomorrow
Yeah.
afternoon, actually. And minutes of that, I mean, the agenda of that has been just, when the financial part was put in this evening, because Peggy does the financial part, and that just gets added to the minutes, so that'll be done for tomorrow, for the meeting. Well, yeah, I thought you said earlier that somebody was coming, so that'd be good if
Yeah.
somebody could come and see what's going on, but I'm confused, I really am. I don't understand what's going on, I don't understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
I do know this, I know that people are very upset.
But we know, we do need to go forward with,
Nobody's saying we shouldn't, and I don't know where that comes from. But the demanding that we're gonna do this exactly like Boylston does, or the way Clinton does it, is not appropriate for us. Safety is one thing, doing it like the other people do is another total thing altogether. And copying somebody else's stuff without knowing how we run our program is not productive. And it will,
I guess, I think we're all curious as to which pieces specifically of this are the problem, because I don't think any of us felt that any of this was unreasonable from a
well,
liability
unfortunately,
standpoint.
some
And
of us do, so people that
Yeah.
drive the
And has
We'd be
that-
more than glad to go through this with you, once again. But
Has anybody
meeting.
told Holly the things that you have
Yeah, we
issues
did.
with?
In fact, there's a redacted version of this, which Lorena Farabee did, that she had her people do, where they highlighted the parts that needed to be discussed. All that was supposed to be done hasn't happened yet.
So Lori has this copy that perhaps she could share
No,
with us?
well, Lori
The
sent
redacted copy?
Yeah, actually, everybody does. Holly does too.
Okay.
All members of the committee had it and copies of it, yeah.
Okay.
Of the, well, it's a variety
Be
of
nice to
pages,
see that,
more than
too.
just two. So,
Is it possible for you guys to go through it tomorrow? Hopefully there's not a lot of changes and just bang it out and get it done?
I will ask Lori for the one that she.
And just see where the major differences are?
So, I mean, there was, you may remember that there were two articles for the town warrant that we were asked if we voted on.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't, because we never saw them. As a committee, the articles were never given to us to take a look at and see, do you think you should support this or not?
I think there was a deadline involved,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, there was, but.
And
that
that's
got
why-
overridden, but still.
Right.
And I know that they were discussed. They may not have been specifically voted on, but I know they were discussed because
Yes,
I was
know
there when they were
discussed, too.
discussed.
And when we were discussed, we said we'd like to see what you're proposing, and that never showed up. Nor the contract that we're supposed to be engaging in for this software package. We've asked for that twice now, to see what it actually is, and for a demonstration, and all we have is what, a verbal description, so.
Okay. Well, where does the board want to go with this evening?
I don't think you have to go anywhere except attend the meeting and
We
help
can
us to
table
get
it,
this
table it
solved.
for now.
Okay.
You know, but I'm not so
Good.
sure that this is gonna get solved by, you know, a letter from you to me and me to you, and,
Right.
you know, we really
Well,
need to
I-
decide who's doing what.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well, that's part of what the letter details
Yeah, because, I
is.
mean, the board is
what-
your function, you appoint the board, but then it runs the council on aging.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
your description, not mine. So,
Except
who's
Hol-
running what here?
Holly's job description, her supervisory is under us.
Yeah, you have
So-
admin responsibility, you
Yeah.
hire, you fire, you set your salary.
Yep, and,
We're the ones to decide the policy.
yeah, but she needs to be able to
No,
do her
but we
job.
do.
No, I didn't say but, I said she needs to be able to do her job, and right now she's
Absolutely,
not. So,
absolutely, yeah.
you know, give her the things that she's supposed to be doing, and then if she's not doing them, then we'll address that, but
And
she
we
has
did
to
that, as
have.
you may remember, I don't want to discuss it publicly, but we discussed with her what we would like to have her do, and
Yeah.
we have reasons why we are waiting for that to happen.
Well, maybe we can clear some of this up
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Good. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll
All
just
right.
defer until Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how this meeting goes.
Good luck.
So I had put the vote on a process for new hires, that Mary kind of drafted it.
Well, it's very by the seat of my pants.
I know, but we need something that we can just
Get
check,
out.
check every time we have a new
It
hire.
might be personnel's to flesh out, and I think Claire is gonna meet with June to do that.
Okay.
Because I don't even remember seeing this.
Oh,
Hmm.
I remember
It may
seeing a
be-
letter from June regarding a hire at the library.
At the library, but
Right.
have you seen anything?
That was, well, that, I looked quick this afternoon, that was the last one that I saw. There was just like, we
Yeah.
need a process. The
So-
June was asking for
Right.
paperwork, and somebody was hired, and it wasn't the right rate, and it wasn't the right level.
Yeah, but we didn't see any.
There was
Was there something after?
I don't remember when it was. It might have been a while ago, actually, beginning of the week or something. I thought there was an email
We
that,
got a rough draft back and forth, just would this work?
yes.
But nothing was.
No.
like,
Formal?
yeah,
Exactly.
I think June might have.
I'll send this to you guys. It was not, it was actually, I didn't think the selectmen were gonna put it into place.
So you guys gonna work on that on Wednesday?
She hasn't got a meeting till today.
Oh, sorry, whenever your next meeting is?
Yeah. Oh, sure, just add.
Hey, it's only fair. We're in this together, it's only fair.
Someday we will
Put it on
actually
the
read
list.
the policies.
Put
Someday
it-
we'll actually get to read the policies
I know you will.
we're supposed to be working on.
Yeah.
No, definitely. No, that was one.
Cool.
She was going to talk to somebody about that.
All right, so that
For,
draft,
sits with personnel.
yes. It's all yours.
Thanks for coming.
Called her.
So, other new business. I did talk to Dennis Minich when he was here at the beginning, before the meeting started. I wanted to ask both of you if the department heads' monthly reports should be up to the date of our meeting when it's presented, rather than
A month prior.
month prior, because otherwise it's not.
But they're not necessarily
Current.
sticking to an every month schedule, like, so they should give
I
you a
know.
report
From
back to
whenever
their
they
last report.
Yes, whenever
Right.
they last saw us to when they're gonna see us.
Mhm.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Because it seems like Tom, I think, sat here and only
old
talked
stuff.
about February,
February.
and it was already middle of
Almost the end
March.
Yep.
It's still more than we were getting before.
Yeah.
True.
Well, they asked for this.
It's still more than we were getting before.
It's progress.
True.
Progress.
I mean, not that I want you to write your report like the day before your presentation, but, you know, if everybody already knows the outcome of something, why not just go ahead and mention it, even though it's not in your February report, it's gonna be in your March one. Just kinda seems silly.
Yeah, for them to see, I mean, we can toss it out. Who's up next?
I don't. They're off the rails.
Who's on first?
Building is not, so let's see, we had police last week, we had fire tonight.
Dave seems to be like the frequent flyer at these meetings.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's because he wants to keep an eye on us. Make
Correct.
sure we
They all
don't give him
start
anything else to
eager.
do.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
And they get the hell out of Dodge.
Well, maybe we need to come up with like an ahead of time schedule for,
Well, I've tried this.
We tried
many
that,
times.
and
I'm
it-
not
and it
going
kept
to
getting
do
shot.
it anymore. Maybe, I don't know what to say. What do you want me to do? They keep changing, canceling, quitting, leaving.
quitting. Nobody's
Well,
quitting, are we?
We lost Z.
Oh,
He never
that's
got
okay.
to do his inaugural report that he asked for. I
All
guess
right.
Dave would be next.
Poor Dave, he's our guinea pig on everything.
Mhm. But I don't think you have him next week. You'd have him the week after that. 'Cause
Yeah, because he already did it. He was here 2 weeks ago. And I don't think there's anybody left.
Highway. Well, now you're only cycling 3 because you're not gonna have the building inspector come in.
Correct.
Unless you want him to try on Tuesday, because he has a Monday night commitment. Unless his Monday night commitment rolls to a Tuesday like your meetings do, I don't know.
No.
I mean, do we have a Tuesday night meeting coming
No,
up? I don't
no.
think
Yeah, you
so.
do an April, after Patriots Day. It rolls from Monday to Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Well, those of you who are busy on Mondays, there's no excuse. You're coming in Tuesday.
All right.
All right. But,
Okay, to be determined.
yep. And I had a question about the earthworks bylaw. Are we not required to have a hearing before it even goes on the warrant?
No, it's not a zoning, it's a general bylaw.
Okay, all right. For some reason, I thought maybe we needed a hearing, at least on the bylaw
No,
itself.
you have several bylaw changes on the,
Right,
Yeah. I actually thought it was weird that it wasn't a zoning thing, but
that it wasn't
apparently it's not, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Did you, weren't you gonna check with somebody about town meeting babysitting? Or
Yes,
again, did I make
that's-
that up in my head?
It's the next thing I'm gonna tell you.
Well, it was on my list, too.
Impatient over there.
Want to go
Look-
home?
Yes, I do. I do want to go home, and I have one
health
update, and I'm like trying to mush it down to give it
All
like
right.
10 seconds.
So, I just wanted to let you know that I heard back from the secretary of the principal at Tohoto that the child development students will be doing the babysitting at annual town meeting.
Oh, nice.
Oh gosh, I forgot about it the second night. I'll have to check.
In what time?
I told them like probably 7 to 9 or maybe a little later, but I think most young kids are gonna have to go home and go to bed. It's a school night.
oh, they're gonna be
Go
older
to
kids
bed.
too.
Well, 5th grade would be the oldest. I would, well, maybe 6th.
I'd like to make sure too, if we have somebody on the hook, that we put it on the town report, that's available.
Yeah, well, I gotta get back to her and tell her about the second
2
night. I
nights.
completely forgot.
See, but you're
Um,
glad I had it on my list, aren't you now?
I guess so.
All right then. Refreshments.
She asked about how many kids, and I said, I really don't know, because I said, well, this is the first time that we would be doing this
Actually,
this way.
Julie did
Last year,
last year.
Right.
for the school. Mhm.
So I can probably,
Well, I could probably email her
I was just gonna do it right here.
if she knew how many kids.
Ish.
Because I guess you don't really know how many kids would be coming.
No. So you're
Well,
gonna.
what's the school draw this year?
There really isn't.
There isn't, not like last year,
No.
which
No.
was regionalization.
No, so in general, you know, unless there's a draw. I mean, the first night is the budget,
Yeah,
which would involve the school,
yeah.
but I don't think it's that controversial or anything, so I don't expect that.
They have no capital articles.
No.
There's no
probably
ceiling
the-
tiles, there's no,
It's
No.
probably the second night.
No, maybe
Would
they
it-
would be interested in the
Can I
second
speak?
night.
Would it be, you've got enough time where you could potentially send home a backpack notification with a tear off that says,
Mhm.
if you're considering or trying to get a basic count, would you be coming to? And they could put it in all the backpacks, just a
Yeah,
thought.
you just have to get approval from.
The
I
superintendent.
mean, it won't be in concrete,
Actually,
but it might give you at least a
John Campbell.
guesstimation.
Yep.
Right, yeah, that would be something that
Yeah.
I could suggest to,
You know.
Principal.
don't they have an email push to all the parents?
It's not as
Mr. Campbell does, you can
comprehensive.
do that too, but
A lot of parents don't have email, so
Yeah.
they really like to use
Put
the
it in the
backpack.
he actually can put it in his,
Letter.
his weekly blast that he sends out as well. And
Maybe
he
the
might
parents
be
just
able
wanna
to
shoot an
send, he
email,
might be
too.
able to have a link to
Yeah.
you, so you can get a
Oh.
guesstimation. Just
Create a
FYI.
doodle poll. They can RSVP by doodle poll.
No.
Why not?
No.
Really?
Check the piece of paper and bring it back.
Good Lord, man.
yeah. Okay.
Who's gonna
Sometimes
get the
with
paper?
elementary school children, it's better to not have to worry about getting something back. I'm just saying.
My 8th grader's locker is loaded full of paper that never comes home.
All right, so that was my update. Is there anything else?
You got all my stuff throughout, so.
Yeah.
I just have one. It's not a selectman thing, but it's a town thing, so it kind of counts. We have a go for the Easter egg hunt on April 20th,
There it is.
3 o'clock, South Common. So a giant shout out to all those. When I proposed this idea, I knew I needed help. So rec committee stepped up, Boy Scouts stepped up, Lions stepped up, police stepped up to give a donation. The fire department will step up because I have it on good authority that the Easter Bunny will be there, but it's too far from the Easter Bunny's home to hop to South Common. So the ambulance will be giving the Easter Bunny a ride. So bring your cameras, because pictures will be available if anybody would like to make donations of candy or the eggs. There's a bucket down in the front of the town offices. A notice will be going home with the kids for the week of April vacation, and we'll start to distribute flyers. So again, just a shout out to all those who helped. Kind of warms the heart that people can pull together to do for the greater good, which are the kids in town. So thank you, appreciate it. Hey, we're gonna have
Just
and
as,
I forgot ages. Kindergarten to grade 5. The kindergartners will probably stick in the little playground area, so they don't get trampled by the larger kids. But we'll figure all that out.
And as a mom of a kid who had an allergy to dairy, can I request that for those kids who have allergies, you stick to some stuff like jelly beans are normally good thing, but like chocolate is
Correct.
so many kids between peanuts and
Right.
dairy.
Right, so what we're gonna
Starburst.
request, right, for the,
Yeah,
yes, we're gonna,
Starburst
all
are
that will be
awesome.
ordered. So what we're gonna
Starburst.
request too is the parents open the eggs there, and they give the eggs back to us, and maybe they can do a swappy. So if I open it up and it's full of Snickers and my kid has a peanut allergy, but you like the taffy and you're okay with that, yeah.
I wouldn't use peanuts at all.
Well,
Well,
but
then
but
you'd
you
have to take out
can.
every single bit of chocolate, pretty much.
Peanuts.
But that's the problem, when you buy candy in bulk, you're gonna get that
They have
in
different
there.
ones.
Yes, so there's tons of candies
Maybe they
being,
can just trade in.
correct, that's what I'm
And
saying.
get
And I'm sure that
something
we'll
else.
have extra candy as well. I know I am buying a bunch of bags. The police department, bless their soul, they bought a ton. Rec committee's forking over some. And hopefully other people, we're gonna hit up all the businesses that did Christmas time in Berlin and see if they'll do the same for Easter egg time in
They're
Berlin.
so neutral.
So-
They're just sugar.
Right.
My kids.
So we'll figure it out. But, hey, you know what? Bringing it back for the town, so first of many things to come. And I'll include all of you on the next one.
Where are your ears?
Oh, where are my ears? Yes, these ears were magically left, so, look, didn't plan this. Easter egg hunt is coming. Thank you.
All right.
Adjourned.
To adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you, Mr. Bradley.